Hey everyone, I'm Erin and welcome to the Cardboard Republic. We are bringing you a to be played video now. So we're going to first go over all of the games that we played from our last list. Right, I knew we were supposed to do something. Okay, we're gonna go over all of the games that we didn't play from our last list, and then we're going to give you the games that we're hoping to be more successful at getting to the table in September. First up is Dark Dealings. This was our indie game of the month for July, which was the last time we actually did one of these videos. Gen Con at the beginning of last month, beginning of August, really threw us off, so we didn't get one out in time. Anyway, Dark Dealings was our game of the month for July, and so of course we played it. We even reviewed it, and the review is up on our site now. Just in super brief terms, it is a very cute dungeon crawling card drafting game with like a surprise memory game component to it. So like I said, a full review is up on the site. That's a better place than my 2-sentence summary to actually find information on the game. Next up is Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and this one we tried so hard to play, but we were unsuccessful. We have been unsuccessful at playing this for quite some time, for no reason, because we both really want to play it. Why don't we just sit down and play it? God. Arkwright, though, we did get to play, even though it's probably way bigger and more complex than all of the other games on this list. But for some reason, we totally got it to the table. And it's like the driest game ever, but it's also really fun. And I have a tendency when a game has like very little theme like that to just sort of make my own theme as we go on. Ryan gets really frustrated. But I really enjoyed it. I was making like clothes for ghosts and stuff. I don't know. Things got a little weird. It was like late. But anyway, we played it. It counts. Looting Atlantis, we sort of had the same problem with this as we did with Castles. We didn't get to play it, but we had it like physically on our table at least once, and for some reason things just fell through and we never got to it. It's still pretty high on our list, so we will be playing it soon. Looting Atlantis is a relatively short game about trying to escape from Atlantis before everything crumbles, and you have to try to pick up as much stuff as you can on your way. Eldritch Horror was our replay game. This was a game that we had played a while ago and wanted to bring back to the table. And we did that, sort of. We played with some people who like really weren't as into the game as I had like really wanted it to be. It's such a thematic game about going all over the world and stopping disaster. And if not everyone is like entirely present and in it, it gets really difficult to keep the momentum going. So I do want to try this again. It counts for this list, it just doesn't count for like scratching the Arkham-ish itch, I guess. Slash is another game that we did not manage to play, and it's a little silly because it's a very light party game. But the problem we ran into with Slash is that because of the topic of basically writing fanfic at the table with your friends, a lot of our friends were not at all interested, and the friends we have that are really into that and would be totally on board, we just didn't manage to see in the time frame. So in the 2 months that we gave ourselves to do our July to be played, we got 3 out of 6, which is like really depressing. But considering Gen Con was in the middle of that, and it's summer, it's always hard to get people to play games in the summer, I'm pretty satisfied. Not entirely satisfied, but like I'm okay with it. It is what it is. Let's move on. So looking forward then into September. Hopefully it will be a better gaming month, but we'll see because September's always busy for us. Anyway, first up, we have our September game of the month, The Guardians Explore. This is a game about a bunch of kids gathering together to defend their neighborhood. There's a deck building component to it where each player starts off with a generic character, and given their special cards and the cards that they manage to get to their deck, they can play a little bit differently. It is aimed at a slightly younger audience. I think it says 12 and up, maybe 8 and up, something like that. But you know, older kids would be fine with it. The art is really, really appealing. It is a little bit younger than our normal preferred game style, but I've been really into games that have artwork that just catches your eye lately, so I think I'm gonna be excited to try this. Next up is Star Trek Ascendancy. This is a game that Ryan has been dying for ever since he first heard about it, I think. It's a 3-player only game, and 1 player plays the Federation, 1 player plays the Romulans, and 1 player plays the Klingons. You can only do it with 3 players. I like that because it means that the designers knew what their game was going to do and just stuck with it. They didn't try to fit in a 4th player. They didn't try to make a solo variant. I like that. Anyway, Star Trek Ascendancy is a 4X game, so players are competing to take over space, I guess, essentially. There is a diplomatic component to it. There's also a lot of warfare. I know that this is probably going to be a game that I do enjoy, but don't necessarily want to play all that often. But I'm sure that we will be playing it really soon because even right now, Ryan can't stop staring at it. Killer Snails, on the other hand, is all me. This is a game I saw at Gen Con that I had never heard of before, and I love snails, so I was like, tell me about your game. And they did. Killer Snails is a game about harvesting peptides from assassin snails and using them to create medicine for humans. I honestly have not played it yet. I don't really know how all of that works. There are cards, there are tokens. I don't care. It's about snails. Next up is another game about science that I'm also excited for. Well, it's sort of about science. It's about like old-timey science. Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark, is about being a member of that expedition, traveling across the country, and sending home your scientific knowledge, whatever you've gained. You do this by rolling some dice. I'm not entirely sure of like the ins and outs of how the dice play into it yet. I know it is a dice game, so they're like heavily involved, but I'm a little concerned that it'll be too random for me. But I do like dice, and I have such a soft spot for like any old-timey expedition. I don't know. Haunted houses and old-timey expeditions. I was born in the wrong era. Our replay game for September, and again, this is the game that we've played before previously, but we want to get back to the table. For this month, that is going to be Stockpile, for 2 reasons. 1, it is a really good, relatively light economic game that I've only had the chance to play once, and there's like an easy mode and there's a more complicated mode. I've only ever played it on the easy mode, and while I liked it, it was like really lacking something, so I want to try it on the more complicated mode and see if that really does better for me. Also, we just got the expansion in, so in order to try that and really compare it to just vanilla Stockpile, we're gonna have to play both with and without the expansion again, which is like really not much of a problem because the game itself is not very long. So it is time for our card pull. First, I'm going to put the slash card back in the deck because we didn't actually get around to playing it. Then I'm going to shuffle, poorly, hopefully somewhat off camera, so that no one sees it when I drop all these cards. Oops, almost dropped all the cards. You thought I was joking. Cutting the deck. That's my cutting the deck noise. Baseball Highlights 2045. Baseball Highlights 2045 is one of Ryan's favorite games to play with his brothers. It is set, obviously, in 2045 in the future, and in order to reinvigorate the sport of baseball, they've decided to add robots and cyborgs. So the game is essentially all about deck management. You are constantly trying to get rid of your rookie players and get more experienced players into your deck while you're competing through these shortened baseball games with your opponents. It's for 2 to 4 players, but really it's for 2 or 4 players. If you play it for 3, it's gonna be not great. I almost said a word there that I'm not gonna say here, but it's not great. So, Baseball Highlights 2045 is actually going to be a game that's probably pretty easy for us to review because Ryan has played it so many times with so many different people. And that's the whole deal with our card pull game. We are going to go through and review this game by the end of September, either on the website or on the podcast. Stay tuned then for that. It'll be around soon. All right, that's our September all planned out. September is always a busy month for us. We have the Boston Festival of Indie Games, we have my birthday, we have me starting school and all sorts of other stuff. But most of the games we picked this month are on the shorter side and are really accessible to different groups of players. So I think that's a mistake we've made in the past, picking games for this that we can only really play with like one person that we know and it's hard to get a hold of them. That's not the case this month. I hope that we can get back to our streak of playing these like all by the end of the month. I'd even settle for like 5 of them, but we'll see how it goes. And we'll be back, of course, at the beginning of October with a recap of how that went. In the meantime, if you like our content, please hit like and subscribe to our channel. That does really, really help us. We also have a Patreon, so if you are able to offer some financial support and that's something that you want to do, please head over there. We have some cool rewards. We have a new Board Game of the Month club that we're going to be launching thanks to our generous and fantastic Patreon backers. Anyway, please leave a comment below with the games you are hoping to get to the table in September. We always love to see what everyone else is playing. Bye. Next up is Star Trek Ascendancy? Why did I say that? To have, I guess, the most full notebook full of science-y stuff at the end of the game. This gets you victory points, which gets you victory. That's how victory points work. Glad I could be here. Arkham-ish itch. The only reason I bought this game was because it was about snails and made by scientists. Snail scientists, maybe, I don't really know.